Hey everybody. I've seen a few people ask on the Bucket forums about getting GitHub up and running and integrated with, with Eclipse, and I couldn't find it easily either. I had to piece together like two different tutorials that I found on Google. So I figured I'd make this little screencast and hopefully help some folks out. So here we go. The first thing you need to do is determine what version of Java you have installed, because your Eclipse install must match it. So to do that, pull up your computer and check out your program files folders here. And if you have program files and program files x86, then we'll have to check. If you only have just program files, you've got 32-bit. If you have both, what you're looking for is which one contains this Java folder, or if you have an older version of Java installed that might contain an Oracle folder or even a Sun folder. If it's in the x86 folder here, you have 32-bit installed. If it's in the program files folder, you have 64-bit installed. And again, Eclipse has to match the version of Java you have installed and not the OS you have installed. So what you do is just go to eclipse.org and hit downloads. And the one you want is this Eclipse IDE for Java developers, and just download the one that matches your Java install. I've already gone ahead and done that, and it's right here, and you'll get a zip file, and you can unzip it anywhere. And before we actually launch Eclipse for the first time, we're going to set a variable here. The quickest way to get there is just hit Start and right-click on Computer and hit Properties. And then Advanced System Settings here. And then Environment Variables. And what we want to do is, you can see these user variables, and I named the account for this little test, Bucket. Under user variables, you need to create a new one, home in caps, and you need to point that to your user folder. And in the case of Windows 7, it's going to be C users and then your username. And that'll dodge an error message down the road. Alright, go ahead and boot Eclipse up. And it'll take a second to start, particularly the first time you start it. And it'll ask you for your workspace. You can accept the default or change it, whatever you'd like. Okay, I've set up a project here for testing, but the first thing we need to do is we need to go to Help and install new software. And drop this menu down and pick all available sites. And there's, you can see up in the corner here, the first time you do it, it's downloading some stuff. It's not really obvious that this is what it's doing, but if you check, you gotta wait this out. There we go. And once the download's done, just enter EGit, E-G-I-T, EGit, into the search box, and you want Eclipse EGit. Don't worry about the Mylan one. And it should take care of the rest for us. You need to accept the license agreement. And then it'll download. And when it's done installing, it'll ask you to restart, and just restart Eclipse. Okay, now that we've got that done, we need to set a communications variable. And so go to Window, and Preferences, and General, Network Connections, SSH2. And Key Management, and you need to generate DSA key. And save private key. And when you do this, you can enter a passphrase to protect your key. I'm just going to hit OK. And save. Before you close this window, that's important. Select everything in the box here and copy. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is create our Git repository. Now Git always has two repositories. There's the one on GitHub that's called the remote, and the one on your computer, and they're not automatically synchronized. So we'll create our local one first, and now that we have EGit installed, I'm going to go to Team and Share Project, and we're going to share it as Git. Oh, and that's what the home variable was supposed to avoid. Didn't quite work. Next. And here's non-obvious screen number 3. You need to come over here and hit Create. And there we go. Okay, you can see we've created our repository. And it's got the repository name and no head. That means there's nothing in it yet. So what we need to do is we need to create our first commit. So now we'll go back into the team menu, and we've got lots more options, and we'll commit. First time you do a commit, it'll ask you for your username and your email, and it'll save it so you don't have to worry about it again. And let's see. There we are. And usually you're only going to commit your Java classes here. Some people commit their project file as well. The others you should probably leave alone. You can commit them if you want, or if you need to, if you'd like to track them. But in general, just commit your Java. And now you can see that no-head has changed to master, and master means it's the master branch of our repository. Alright, now what we need to do is we need to pull up our repository view, and that is under Window, View. And if anyone out there in the forums knows a faster way into this, let us know in the comments, because I haven't found it. And Get Repositories. There's that home variable again. And I'm going to drag it over there. And we can see our local repository, and the master branch we just created, and remote, which is empty, and we need to create a new one. And you should name it Origin. That's another Git-ism for the main remote, the master remote. And we're going to configure push, and it'll automatically configure fetch for us in a minute. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to go configure GitHub. So I'm assuming you've already created your account, and if you're not at this screen, you can click on this dashboard link to get to this screen. And create your new repository. And then we need to make one final configuration. Remember that copy of that key you copied earlier? You can see I've got my personal one here. Add it. And paste all that stuff from the box. Okay, now go back to your new repository and make sure you've got SSH selected and copy all the stuff in this box. And hit change in this URI up here. And you can see it grabbed it from my clipboard. If it doesn't, you can paste it and it fills everything in for you. The only other thing you need to do is select SSH. Leave everything else blank. Leave the port blank. Leave the password blank. And again, you can use your own password here. I'm just going to skip it. Okay, now what we've done is we created our first remote, and you can see it configured fetch, which is this green one, and push, which is this red one. And we've already done our commit, so I'm just going to right-click the push remote and push. The first time you connect to GitHub, it's going to say that it doesn't recognize it, and you can just accept it, and then it will remember GitHub, and it won't ask you again. And here you can see that we've added stuff, and we've created a new branch on GitHub, which is that master branch, and it's created the references for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And if I come back over here to GitHub and reload, there we have it. And that's actually all there is to it. There's more to Git. I'll post a good link in the comments for learning about Git. For this little tutorial, I used Adam Kill's excellent huge plugin tutorial example. The URL is right here. I'll also post that in the video description. And I hope you enjoyed the little screencast.